Moosejaw scowled disgustedly at the brushy growth surrounding the oval of cleared ground he was standing on the edge of.
I hack away at this stuff and get a pretty good-sized patch cleared. And then I come back a day or so later and it's half-growed all over again. Man, if this earth is fertile enough to grow anything decent the way it does scrub brush, then me and Daisy are going to have a vegetable garden that ought to feed half the county.
Or maybe a passel of your own kids.
Moosejaw's sweat-beaded eyebrows shot up.
Whoa, now, let's not jump too far ahead with things.
Says the fella who's already jumping with both feet into marriage, and a place of his own, and the whole ball of wax.
Yeah, but there ain't nobody said nothing about no passel of kids rolled up in that wax ball.
Well, don't fret too much about it. If another kind of passel starts showing up, the whole works might be going up in a puff of smoke. Powder smoke, that is, before it hardly gets started.
What in blazes is that supposed to mean?
The three men were talking under a high, hot sun that had drifted little more than an hour past its noon peak. Firestick and Beartooth, still on their horses, had ridden out from town, which lay about a quarter-mile back to the east, to have this discussion with Moosejaw. The cabin Moosejaw had put money down on stood a dozen yards behind the big deputy. It was a single-story structure of well-fitted timbers, a little run down from having sat empty for a while, but still solid and only in need of some basic attention to bring it back to good condition. There was a small corral and horse shed off to one side, a covered well in front, a grove of trees close by to the rear, and rolling countryside all around. The place would make a nice home for Moosejaw and Daisy. Beartooth swung down from his saddle.
What it means is that these things starting to circulate around.
He pulled a pair of newspapers from his hip pocket as he took a step toward Moosejaw.
Might cause that other kind of passel I mentioned to begin showing up.
Moosejaw set aside the broad, curved scythe he'd been working with and took the papers Beartooth handed him. They were copies of both the Fort Davis Dispatch and the Presidio Press. As Moosejaw shook them open and began scanning what was plastered across their front pages, Firestick dismounted also and walked over to stand beside Beartooth. Moosejaw pored over the Presidio edition first, his brows pinching steadily tighter together as he read. Then, after barely glancing at the dispatch and seeing more of the same, he suddenly crumpled the publication in his big fist and shook it.
That blabbermouth pipsqueak of a bank examiner! Doggone him!